Okay, so this sorrel colt, you can see on the side of his face, he banged his head on the hitching post. And so we're gonna delay starting him for a little bit, but it's not good. And a little bit of that is just kind of his reaction, but I wanted to show you that. We'll talk more about it here when we get going. But just wanted to show you what happened to him. It's our second session with this colt. And by the way, we let Hyde name this little guy, and we're calling him Mesa. So this is Mesa, everybody. And that name comes from Hyde. We got to be careful about letting Hyde name things, because you don't ever know what they might get called. But anyway, I've just been going through the exact same steps that I went through in the last session with him up to this point. So I'm going to do the same thing every time I get him in the round pen here. And we're going to start out by combing him off and rubbing him all over, getting him used to all of our lead ropes and different things like that. And also, we're going to go through the same thing we did on his feet. Now, I'm not going to show that every time because, again, we have a lot that we're going to cover. And so I'm just telling you that, like, right up front. I'm going to do that same thing every time, same routine every time we get him in the round pen. Reaching down, picking his feet up, pick him up about that far. He wasn't too great on that one. I'm going to do the same thing on these back feet. Get in here. Just want him to do that. That's all I need him to do. And pretty soon he'll start cueing into the second that I start bringing my hand down, he's going to lift his foot up. So I'm going to do all that. I'm going to get a lot of rope stuff, do the same thing, get ropes around his legs. And we're going to go through all that again. Again, I won't show everything. And today I'm going to introduce him to a flag. And it's just, I'll show you what that is. But it's just one of those things we use to help desensitize. So, and then we're going to work on direction and round pen method and stuff. And I'll explain that as I go. But we had a really good comment on our last video that I wanted to answer. So I told you that I had one of these young babies over here bite me, and we talked about pecking order. And the comment is, well, what did you do when they bit you? Well, the reality is that I had my back to that colt, and I did not anticipate that at all. And when that colt bit me, he bit me really hard, and it just shocked me, and I could not figure out what just happened. I honestly thought I'd been kicked. And so by the time I kind of got my senses with me and I looked on my back, and I had it was wet where he had bit me. At that point, it's too late for me to correct that horse. The horse isn't going to understand why he's being corrected. If you're going to correct a horse, you got to do it like in the moment. So you've got a window there of maybe 3 to 5 seconds at the most. And so I missed that moment, but I learned a lot about that colt, and I learned that I have got to establish myself. And so one of the things that I did was, the next time I fed him grain, I stood facing him, put the grain in the trough, and then I didn't let him come and eat the grain. I held him off the grain, which is what another dominant horse would do. If you have horses, or if you've been around horses much, when they start eating, the dominant horse eats first, and the dominant horse has the biggest space. And so that's what I did with him. I just pushed him off the grain. He got mad. He pinned his ears a little bit, and was trying to figure out why I was going to keep him off the grain. But now I know what I need to do with him. I know I need to establish that dominance. And one other thing that I didn't mention too with him is Hyde was feeding him some grain, and he nipped at Hyde's hands. And so again, that's one of those things where you've got to establish your leadership, and you've got to establish your dominance. And last thing we want is for one of the kids to get bit, So we're going to be working on that with that colt. part of what I'm doing today with this colt is I'm still establishing leadership with him, and I'll kind of show you how I do that as we get going. Okay, so I've put the rope on his legs and worked with him on that for a little while. What I've also done is I have changed lead ropes, got me a longer lead rope because I'm going to work him at a little bit of a distance here, and I can also use this lead rope to desensitize him, and it's just a great tool. And as you can see, this colt is already pretty darn good. Like, he's not too bothered by this rope, and I'm going to spend a lot of time on his legs again. We're going to beat that one to death for the reasons that I explained last time. So anyway, that's kind of what we're going to do. But I'm going to get him used to this long lead rope. I haven't had a long lead rope on him to this point, so he'll figure that out pretty quick. Okay, what I have on the ground here is this little flag that I like to use, and it's nothing fancy. It's just kind of it's not a whip, but it's just more of a little flexible stick with a flag on the end of it, and we're going to introduce that to this colt. I'm going to start out by doing this kind of slow. Now, again, this colt is really easy, and other colts aren't going to be so easy. So I'm going to find that pressure bubble that we talked about. And if his pressure bubble was out here, this is where I would start working this flag. This colt, we're a little bit closer in here. And so I'm going to work this flag a little bit closer. But I'm going to start out by working it slow, just like this. And, you know, he's watching it pretty close, and it's making a little bit of noise. I'm going to walk around him just a little bit, and I'm going to pull him with me so he can move too if he wants to, so his feet aren't stuck. Sometimes when their feet are stuck, it means that they're about to blow up, and so I like to keep them loose, and I like to keep their feet loose. I like to get them walking around just a little bit. Okay, but all I'm doing is I'm just really lightly touching this flag on the ground. Now, if you don't have a flag like this, it's no big deal. I've used a stick with a plastic bag on the end of it, and that works great. It makes noise, and it serves the purpose. So, okay, I can see that he is taking this really well. So now I'm actually touching him with the flag, and he's handling that really good. But I want to just desensitize him to all these things, so he doesn't need to be bothered by this. Because when we start saddling him and riding him, you know, our hands, our hats, our clothes, everything is going to be all over, and he just needs to not be bothered by it. And so, again, we'll spend quite a bit of time just kind of doing this. And I'm not being very aggressive with it right now. I'll be a little more aggressive here in a minute. But I'm just letting him know, hey, this is okay. There's nothing wrong with this. It's not hurting you in any way, and you don't need to be afraid of it. Okay, horses also, like, they worry about things on the ground more than they do things up high. Okay, so if I bring this flag across the ground like that and shake it a little bit and throw it up in here, most horses, the average horse, will really, they'll react to that. And so we spend quite a bit of time doing that kind of a thing, but just so you know that. So if I'm going to work my flag until I get him good and like gentle, I don't bring it across the ground and whip it up on him like that. I'll work it kind of right here like this. I'll work it to the side. And then again, we go both directions with him. Okay, I'm going to get his feet unstuck just a little bit. Okay, a big part of training horses and teaching horses things is you have to be able to read the horse, and you've got to take some time in doing that. You watch the horse's body language, you watch how they're accepting things, look at their ears, their eyes, you check their breathing and stuff like that. That gives you the cues you need to know when you've done enough and when you haven't done enough. Okay, I'm going to get a little more aggressive with this flag. I'm going to start to move it over the top of his head. when I'm on him, I'm going to swing my rope sometimes. And sometimes I'm going to take my hat off. And sometimes I'm going to throw a stick. And all this helps him prepare for that. So it's not a big deal. Okay, so I'm reading this horse and he's just not bothered by this very much. He's watching it, but it's just not, he's not going to do a whole lot about it. Going to work on his feet again. And again, we're going to see if he can move his feet while we're doing this. That's a really important step that you want to make sure you establish. The next thing we're going to work on here is we're going to work on direction. And I'm going to start moving him around the round pen at the end of this lead line. And we're going to work on establishing direction. When we do that, that is also part of me becoming dominant, or being in a dominant position with him, because I'm the one that's directing him. I'm directing his feet. I'm directing the direction that he's going, his movements, and that helps establish me in that position. So that other colt that we were talking about, that's what he needs. Again, when we get the red colt in here, our sorrel colt, it's going to be a different story. This is going to be a different process. And it's kind of nice to see it on a colt like this so that we can, you kind of explain it, but you can kind of see the different personalities in these horses. Okay, so I'm going to change this flag out for a little bit of a buggy whip. And that's what I'm going to use to establish direction. Okay, so this is just a simple little buggy whip. I'm not going to whip him with it. I'm going to use it again as a tool that's going to help me to train him. It makes a little bit of noise, which is okay, but I'm going to introduce it to him right here. He's never been around this buggy whip, but I'm going to let him know the same thing. Not going to hurt him. It's all good. Doesn't have to worry about it. Okay, I don't know if you just heard him or not, but he took a real deep breath and let that out, which is a sign that he is just relaxed. He's okay. So how we establish direction is I have to kind of get behind him, not directly behind him, but to the side, and push him out a little bit and have him start to go around this round pen. So we're going to try that here and see how he does. So I'm going to hold my lead rope up here, and I'm going to point in the direction that I want him to go, so he kind of understands that, and I'm going to give him some commands. I'm going to use this whip, but I'm also going to give him a voice command, and that voice command is something that, again, we'll use later as well. So I kind of move to his hip and push him out a little bit. If I am not at the right angle here, he'll just stop and walk into me. So I've got to stay kind of at his hip where I can drive him. And I'm just using this whip to create a little bit of sound right behind him. And I'm letting the rope go. And there he goes a little bit, which is great. So I was applying pressure right there, and he moved. And so I backed off my pressure. The pressure was the sound and movement of this buggy whip. There's my voice cue. The point of this exercise is absolutely not just to run him in a circle until I wear him out. That's not what we're doing here. Got a little bit of energy there. It is to teach him again direction, and I'll talk more about that as we're moving through this process. But I want you to know, like, I'm not trying to like wear him out. That's not the point. I want him to know that I can move his feet. I want to see him relax here before I change direction with him. Okay, the way that I'm going to change direction is I'm going to give him a visible cue and a verbal cue that I want him to change direction, and we'll use that same cue every time. Okay, so I'm going to stop moving, quit my whip. Now he's still going to go around because he doesn't know what I'm doing, but he sees me. He stops, I point the other direction, I move into his hip, and I start pushing him out again and driving him out. Now he did that really well. Most colts do not do it that well. So just know that. You're going to have to really work at getting that direction established. Okay, so he's doing really well at this. Really happy. Okay, see how we got the rope on his front foot? If I can't get that out of there, I need to whoa him and get my rope right. So I'm gonna relax right here. I'm gonna put my whip down. I'm gonna stop my movement. Just gonna walk up and fix my rope. Now we're really tangled up, which is just fine. Just fine. This is exactly what we want to see happen. You know, intentionally, I don't want to get this horse in trouble or anything, but right here, I'm not going to worry about it, and I'm going to let him work it out, and I'm going to let him see that he's not going to get hurt. I'm not hurting him. And if he'll just stop and slow down for a minute, that all that ruckus will go away. Perfect. Okay, so that was kind of unintentional, but that was just a great training minute. Okay, and it looks like we're not quite done yet. I'm going to try to get him to stop right there. Good job, buddy. All right. Now when I get up here, what's really important is that I just let him know it's all good. Let him know he did a great job. Okay. So the other thing, next thing we need to establish here, as we got this direction, is we need to establish a whoa, which he didn't have yet. So I couldn't give him that cue, and which was, I don't know, it's just part of it, you know. Sometimes unexpected things happen, and that's okay. But we're going to go ahead and give him a whoa right here. So I'm going to start him out again. Point, give him this cue, my verbal cue. He's getting a little bit slow on me right there. And so I want to let him know I'm going to move his feet. Okay, when I'm going to whoa, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop my body language to him. I'm putting pressure on him right now just through my body language. I'm going to take that pressure off of him, and I'm going to verbally tell him to whoa. 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 So he's walking on his own right now, and he hasn't picked up the cue that it's okay to stop. So I'm bumping his nose just a little bit, but I took the pressure completely off of him. Perfect. That's what we want to see right there. I want him to turn to me, and he's going to get a rest when he comes into me. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, when he comes into me, I'm going to take the pressure off of him. I'm going to take one little step back. And I'm going to reward him. The reward is releasing the pressure and just letting him stand here. And I'm going to rub on him for just a minute. You can see, hope you can see, I hope that video is not too far away, but his ears are up. He's good. He's got a good mindset going on. He's not worried about me. He's not mad. He's just taking everything great. Okay, so we're going to go through that whole process. Well, one more time. I'm going to do it a little bit faster this time, and I'm going to get him to whoa and to also change directions. We're going to do this a lot with this horse, and we do it with all of our colts. And again, I'll explain more about why we do that later. But this is just a big part of the foundation that we put on them. Okay, I'm going to cue him out. The other thing is I don't need him to run in here. I do want to be able to speed him up and slow him down, but I'm not here to like send him to the races or anything like that. We're just going around this round pen. If he wants to walk like this, I'm okay with that as long as he's going the right direction. When he gets back to this fence, I'm going to whoa him again. On the back side of this round pen, I meant. Whoa. Whoa. Okay, we're still working on this part, which is perfectly normal. I've taken my pressure clear off him. I'm not even looking at him. There we go. Good, 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 good. Whoa. Good boy. Good boy. I'm going to let him think about what just happened right there for a minute. Also, I've put this other halter on, just a kind of a, I don't know what they call it, a harness halter. It's got the buckles and stuff on it. Normally I use a rope halter, but for this purpose in here, it's easy for me to switch leads out and stuff if I need a longer lead, so that's why I use this halter in the round pen. Okay, we're going to go one more time. Okay, so we're going to go the other direction. I'm going to cue him. This time I'm going to speed him up just a little bit, just because I feel like he is not really, I don't know, he's not really getting it yet, and he's just being a little bit on the lazy side. So you hear a lot about licking and chewing in the horse's mouth. And we definitely have observed that and believe that that is a real thing. And I'll try to point that out when he's doing it if you haven't seen it. But when a horse is being submissive and he's saying, okay, okay, you know, I'm good, I'll do whatever you want me to do, they will lick their lips and chew a little bit. They will also exhale and give you a deep breath. And so we look for those things to know if we've done this enough. Okay, I'm going to speed him up just a hair. I speed him up by just my body language and a little bit of this whip, the sound. I'm not touching him with the whip, I'm just moving it. All right, we're going to try to whoa one more time here. Whoa, whoa. That was great. I'm not making eye contact with him because I'm taking the pressure clear off. Now what I want him to do is come into me. When we stop going around, I want him to come into me. So I'm going to pull on him a little bit, give him some pressure. Right there. We're just going to take it completely away from him. And he's done great. One last exercise for today. And again, I'm not going to show, we've showed the steps, so I'm not going to show like everything on the video. We will work on establishing this direction for a good 30 to 45 minutes. And the other thing that we're going to work on is him being able to follow his nose. So we started that the other day. So what I do is I'm going to put this lead rope around behind him. Now, he's probably going to have a reaction. He did before, and that's okay. But I'm going to just start to get this established. I want him to follow his nose, follow the pressure of the rope. So I'm going to drop that right down there and get him to turn like that. Perfect. That's what I want him to do. If he's tied up or if he's kind of gotten himself in a little bit of a mess, I don't want him to twist into the rope and get everything tighter. I want him to twist away from the rope and line himself out. Okay, I'm going to do that one more time. We're going to do it on both sides. I also really like rubbing this rope right across his head, right on his ears, down his back, across his legs. Okay? Okay. So now, if I put this on his butt and gave it a yank, I'm going to get a big time reaction. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be super light right here. And I'm just going to let him know, hey, all you got to do is follow your nose here. Okay, I'm just bumping him, bumping him, bumping him, bumping him, bumping him. There we go. And once he starts to turn him all the way around. Perfect. Okay, we're going to do that on both sides. Okay, see how he's turning into that? If I let him turn into it, he's going to wind himself tight and we're going to get in a mess right here. So I'm kind of walking with him. Now I'm going to pull on his nose a little bit and let him know, follow the rope around, follow the rope around. There you go. Perfect. Good. We've got to do that side again. He's not quite as good on that side. Okay, rub it up across his ears again. Get it across his hind end. Okay, he feels that on his legs. He doesn't like it. You can see his ears are pinned. But he's all right. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of pressure on him. Say, follow your nose. Follow your nose. There he goes. Great. So if he wants to get away from that pressure, he knows what to do. He has rubbed his mane off over there on the feeder, and I don't want to insult anybody, but it kind of looks like a mule when his hair sticks up like that. Okay, well, those are the things that we're working on in this session. So, next steps. Hey, I hope you keep your comments coming and keep the questions coming. Love to have comments, love to hear what you think, and just enjoy learning new things too. So if you've got things that you do that work better, please send them our way. We're always looking for better ways to do things. Thanks.